This podcast may contain paid advertisements, but more on that later. Welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, your go-to resource for unraveling the intricacies of business and leadership, honing in on the essence of bootstrapping a business from scratch. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur, a dedicated bootstrapper, or a leader navigating life's various challenges, this podcast is crafted just for you. I'm Isaiah O'Connor, your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, and my mission is to guide you towards personal and professional growth. Let's embark on this journey together. Okay, everyone, I am back. I'm sorry it took me a lot longer to get back to this episode. As a matter of fact, this episode was one of the hardest ones to write. I presumed, which is always very kind of dumb to do, you never should assume or presume anything, that just revisiting a series I had already done would be so easy to do that I could do it while working my butt off full time and taking care of my kids and playing Mr. Mom. With my wife gone a couple of days, nope, didn't work out as well as I had imagined. But I'm back. I'll give more of an update when we get to the mid-break part of the episode. So today, first of all, this is really, really hard because this is the final, well, at least for now, the final required secondary power we're talking about, which is assertiveness. And the reason it took me so long to write this one and research this one is because this is something extremely hard for me to do. This is me. This is one of my weakest things. This is one of the hardest things to do for me, to be assertive. And actually researching this episode, studying it, writing about it, has actually helped me to become more assertive. Now, when I first did this, I was struggling so hard with writer's block trying to figure this out that I did something I've never done before, which was I actually had the AI write the first draft for me. Now, when I did that, I went ahead and I found a whole bunch of articles, dumped into the AI. Then I went back and got every one of the previous posts I made on this series and put it into the AI and let it think for a while because I was just struggling to figure out where to start. Now, the AI did a remarkably good job of generating a good draft. It really captured kind of my voice, my style, and my perspective really, really well. It did a good job, but it was definitely an AI article I would never just publish as is because, yeah, it doesn't catch everything about me and it has no clue how to put in my personal experiences and things that I've experienced to add to it. So I did use the AI for this draft, in full disclosure, for the draft. And then I sat down and spent another further 3 or 4 hours refining this draft, adding in things what I needed added, removing things, fixing it. So yeah, no, I'm not being lazy. I just need it to help get past the initial writer's block because as a person who's not naturally assertive, this is hard for me to do. So let's jump into this. Now, what is assertiveness? What role does it play? Well, first of all, let's clear up one thing that's often misunderstood, which is people think that being assertive means you're aggressive and or angry. For an example, years ago, when I was growing up, my mom had recorded my brother playing soccer. He was like, I don't know, 11 or 12 years old at the time. And we were watching this game, and this poor kid named Kyle was playing, and his mom was there. And it was definitely the stereotypical soccer mom. Because as we're watching this video, and we're trying to watch my brother play, and they're focusing on my brother. In the background, we just hear this lady screaming, Kyle! Kyle! Assert yourself, Kyle! Which we all thought was hilarious, but we felt sad for this poor kid. When she was saying that, I think she was trying to say that he needed to be aggressive, and I don't know, it just felt wrong. It was kind of funny. Poor kid. Poor kid. Because this poor kid probably could never assert himself because his mom was so domineering, but that's another story. But yeah, assertiveness is not just asserting yourself as in taking charge and being aggressive, which is what I think this lady was thinking. It's something completely different. Assertiveness it's a balance where you can express your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs in direct, honest, and respectful ways. And you stand up for yourself while still respecting others. So this goes back to the giving study, which is when you're a giver, as Adam Grant talked about, the top level, most successful people are givers that are assertive. They're not mean, they're not cruel, but they don't let people walk all over them either. The people that are not assertive, because they're not naturally so, or they're more focused on other people and more worried about other people's success, and therefore, because of their focus is not there, they don't assert themselves, they populate the lowest level of success. So, to be a successful giver, that's humble, because it all goes into it. Being teachable, being humble, having giving spirit, being determined, all these powers, you need to be assertive to do these. You need to be determined to be assertive. You need to be humble with a teachable spirit because people respect you more as you're assertive. And of course, being a giver underlies this. So, looking this up, I went to a whole bunch of websites. I went through and I filtered out 3 main ones, and they kind of describe what assertiveness is. According to the website Better Health Victoria, it says assertiveness helps you communicate more effectively and build self-esteem. It's a skill that allows you to advocate for yourself without infringing on the rights of others. Assertiveness is not about winning or losing. It's about finding a solution that respects both parties. And of course, the very well-known Mayo Clinic highlights that being assertive can help control stress and anger, improve coping skills, and they define assertiveness as the ability to express yourself effectively and stand up for your point of view while also respecting the rights and beliefs of others. And Mindhold's, another website, adds that assertiveness is crucial in maintaining long-term relationships and professional success. It involves expressing your needs, wants, and opinions while remaining considerate of others. Now, one thing I have to say about this, it's really easy to be aggressive in this type of thing. Now, as an entrepreneur, we do need to make our voices heard when we're in negotiations, when it's managing your employees. If you're doing pitches to investors, you need to be assertive. You need to be able to communicate clearly with determination, but kindly, and build respect without being aggressive, because it's really, really easy to bleed over from assertiveness into aggression. Now, the hardest thing about being assertive and not aggressive, because when you become aggressive, you start stepping over on top of people and you start pushing them down. It's when you're upset or frustrated with a situation where you need to be assertive because there's something that you need to fix. So your frustration comes up and you get angry, and trying to be assertive, it comes out as aggression. Now, the easiest place to screw this up, at least for me, and anyone else out there that are parents of children over the age of 2, maybe even younger, will know that being assertive with your children and not being aggressive is a very fine line that's easy to step over. I have 2 small boys, and I've mistaken my aggression, trying to get them to do what they need to do, for assertiveness, when trying to get them to do stuff and correct them. They have a really bad habit of not listening to me when I'm talking to them, especially when, dumb stuff like, "Get out of the road, kid, there's a car coming." They're not really good at listening, and I tend to shift over to yelling and screaming and anger to try to get them to behave. And that doesn't work so well. But then over the last couple of weeks, because I've worked on this over a period of weeks, writing the blog version of this and researching this made me realize I wasn't being assertive, I was being aggressive, and I was being scary, and that does not work with small children. So I've been trying to refine my approach to my own kids using this. And I'll get back to how that's worked. Because, as I had mentioned before, this assertiveness ties in with the other powers. You need to be humble to realize others' needs, and to realize when you kind of blew it by becoming aggressive. With my kids, especially important, right? I have to realize that sometimes I'm not noticing what they're trying to say to me or they're doing, so I'm not paying attention to them, and so I need to show them that I'm listening to them as well before they listen back. That requires humility. As a parent, this is a parenting everyday life thing. You need to be determined, as I mentioned before, tying this back in, that you don't let people step all over you, which has been my problem a lot of my life, where I try to be a nice guy, but then I let people use me because I'm being a nice guy, and I don't realize that I'm being used because I'm not being assertive enough to say no or whatever happens. And of course, you have to be teachable to improve and learn and be aware of people telling you, "Hey, you could have approached that better. This is how you can be more assertive without being so aggressive or mean." And you can be open to input that helps. So the assertiveness really helps give you that strength, that backbone to succeed with people alongside you, helping you. And then that helps you become a true successful giver instead of a taker who just forces everyone else around them as they climb up. Now, one of the areas I have been successfully working on my assertiveness is in my balloon business. Initially, I really struggled with setting prices and negotiating with clients, lowering my prices all the time, giving discounts all the time, to the point of my wife saying, "Isaiah, you are too nice to be in business. You can't be in business and keep dropping your prices. You're just too nice. You gotta, grow backbone and stick to a price. If they don't want to pay the price, they don't want to pay the price. You have to at least try." And of course, being my wife, she was right. So I set up a pricing structure, and I realized the value of my pricing, and I asserted that value to people that don't like my prices. Great. I tell my clients all the time, my job is to make you look amazing on your budget. Now, when I say that, I don't offer a discount. I then say, so let's look at your budget, let's look at what I can offer, and let's see what we can do that fits in your budget to make you look good. So what I'm doing is I'm not dropping my prices, I'm being assertive, keeping my prices, still being kind, respecting them, and trying to find something that works for their budget. And then if it's just a little bit more, I always have a little wiggle room. I can do a little bit extra if need be, but I don't start there. I end there. And I maintain my pricing. Now, recently, a client, a couple years ago, I had a client that ran an event every year, and he hired me every year, paid my price, no questions asked, no negotiations. What's the price? Here's my price. Great. I got paid. Beautiful. But then the client seemed to have decided that I've been really good at running these giant events with my company. I'm going to start an event agency. And now that he has an event agency, when he hires me, he needs to make money, so he can't just pay my full price to pitch me to his clients, which is completely fine. I do give discounts to event agencies as a finder's fee, kind of. They get me the client, I give them a discount because they found me an amazing client, so of course I'm going to share with them the profit from there. I have other blog posts about that, working with other companies, giving them discounts to promote your business, all that good stuff. So that's fine. I have no problems with that. If he would just straight up ask for that. Can you give me a discount off of your price because I brought you the client? Cool. No problem. Yes, you're an event company. I work with event companies. I don't have a problem with that. However, this person decided to not be very responsible or have much integrity in the way he decided to ask for discounts from me. You see, instead of saying, hey, I started an event company now, this is an actual event company, can you give me a set discount? So when I go to my clients, you give me a price, I can get a discount, and then we can both make money. Sure, because I have clients like that. I have clients that they have a set discount. I work with them. I give them my price, and they're happy. I'm happy, and they bring me a lot of business. They've brought me like 80% of my business for the last 7-8 years or something like that. So yeah, works really well. This guy instead, though, says, oh yeah, by the way, I can't remember what you charged me last year. I can't find it in my accounting system. Wasn't it this price? And then they name a price that was either half to less than half of what I asked for the year before. First time they did it, I thought that was kind of odd. Okay, fine. Well, no, but here's my price. And they said, well, but can't you do it anyway for this price? I'm like, no. Sorry. And I gave a counter office for a lower price, but not the price they were offering because it was way too low. And they declined it. Okay, cool. And then they did it again. The next event they did the same thing. Oh, gee, I forgot, and I can't find how much I paid you last year. Really? You can't find it again? Well, give me a moment. Sit down, pull up my billing, show them a copy of the bill I sent them, send it. So this is how much you paid, this is how much I'm taking for this year. Oh, gee, that's a little bit outside the budget. Can we change something and reduce something? Sure, no problem. Okay, second time. But the final straw was recently, and this was hard. Again, I had to be kind, I had to be assertive without letting him walk all over me. He did the same thing again. He asked me for a balloon arch. He said, hey, can you do 4 balloon arches instead of just the 2 that you did last year? I said, yeah, no problem. I can do 4 balloon arches. I'll just have to start earlier, maybe get some help. But yeah, I can do that. No problem. Then he asked me, wasn't the price such and such price? So I don't think so. I don't remember. I was at work on my other job. Said, I will look it up as soon as I get home. Now, I have about a half an hour to 45 minutes drive home one way, depending on traffic. And of course, I hit heavy traffic, was stuck in the tunnel, of course, for 5-10 minutes. Took me forever to get home. On the way home, before I got home, he calls me back. He goes, oh yeah, I told the client, because again, he's an event planner and he has another client, so I'm the hired help. I'm the freelancer working for him. He goes, well, I told the client that you can do the four arches. I promised him that you can do the 4 arches and everything else that we discussed, the balloon twisting and everything else. And I told him the price would be this price. The price he gave the client was 5% less than I took the year before for half the work. Okay, the price was something like, I charged the client something like 5,250 kroner, Norwegian kroner, per arch the year before. He offered them for 4 arches, 10,000 kroner for 4. So less money for double the work, less than half the money that I should. He was asking for like a 54% discount. And I thought that was rather kind of rude because, again, this is the third time. Oops, I can't remember what you billed me last year. I can't find it in my billing system. So I just made up a number and I guaranteed the client that this was the price. Now, that should be another lesson, which maybe I should do pretty shortly, about over-promising and under-delivering. Because he over-promised something he could not deliver or did not even know if he could deliver. So I was pressured because right now I could use that money. It would be nice to have that extra money right now. However, I had to look at what this would cost me. First of all, it would be double the expense on building these arches. I would have to buy more equipment to build a frame. I would spend probably another 4 to 5 hours building and making sure the frames are strong enough to work total. Then I would have to buy double the balloons, which the cost has gone up since last year. So my costs have increased just on that. Gas prices have more than doubled since last time I did this event. It's a long event. It's about an hour away from my house, one way. Then, because I had to do double the work, I would have to have hire somebody to come help me. So that's even more expense. And then I would have to leave my house at somewhere around 3 o'clock in the morning to be there at 4 to start getting it ready to be done by 10 o'clock. So that was a lot of extra work and effort for the, quite honestly, insulting offer of pay me less than they were willing to pay last year for the same thing. That was not good. So I said, okay, I can't do that price. I said it politely. I said, what I can do is I can do the same price per arch, but I will only charge you for 3 arches. I will give you 25% off. I will give you 1 free arch. 1 arch for free, which is still pretty good. That's a pretty big deal considering that you kind of burned me in this whole setup. But I'll give him 1 free arch. I'll get the balloons. I'll eat that cost. I'll do 1 more. Now, he went back, and of course the client, after being promised a certain price, also the price went up by 50%. Of course they didn't want to go with that price, and so they declined it. I did not secure that client. But I upheld my principle, and I'm not stressed about it. Sure, I didn't get the money, but you know what? I didn't get the wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, pay out extra money, lose money on the deal, basically. If I had taken the deal at the 10,000 kroner, I would have probably secured from everything else maybe 3 or 4,000, but then after taxes and toll and everything else, I would probably taking home about 2,000, which is not worth the effort and stress for that to get the equivalent of $200 for doing like 10, 12 hours of work, 15 hours of work for $200. No, wasn't worth it. So I was kind. I lost a client. I stood up for myself, which was really hard for me to do. I have to admit, it wasn't easy saying, sorry, no, I'm not going to take the money because it's not worth it for me. It's too much stress right now. But he said sorry. I said sorry. And instead of yelling at the guy, I didn't go after the guy. I'm leaving it alone. I just dropped it because I don't need to tell him how stupid he was or go after him or insult him. There's no reason to that. There's no reason to do that. If he made that choice, then and he got egg on his face, then that's all maybe he will learn next time. I'm not worried about it. I stood up for myself, and I feel better about myself. I feel better self-esteem, weirdly enough, it is. So, here's the thing. As I've mentioned before, developing this assertiveness, because some 10, 11 years ago when I started this business, I would have said, yeah, sure, I'll just do that for that price. No way, I would just do it. I would have hurt myself doing that. But now, I've developed it over time. Now, how do you do that? Now, as with all the other powers, if you're not a naturally assertive person, like myself, you can definitely work on it. And like I had mentioned before, researching and writing this podcast and blog, has helped me become more assertive. And it has actually made me a better dad. It really has. My wife, like I mentioned, has taken off for 2 weeks. She has to go off and she's getting like this physical therapy thing at this little retreat place that they're going to try to help her through some physical stuff. And which is cool. She gets to get some relax and get some treatments for some stuff. Great. Cool. I'm alone with my boys. And now I have to be Mr. Mom. For those ancient people out there like myself, you might remember that movie from forever ago. And I have to get them to bed on time, get them to school on time, make their food, pack their lunch, do all this stuff that I usually do, plus everything my wife usually does, and get them to behave by myself. And I've been struggling to do this before, and I've been really more aggressive with them. But now, I've been changing the aggression for assertiveness. Being a lot more calm with them, not letting my frustration come out and become angry, but being very firm. If you, for example, if you do not do your homework now, then you do not get the games afterwards. No yelling, no screaming, just very calmly. You don't do this, you don't get this. Or you get the games as soon as you're done with your homework. But the games are going away at 7:30. No more games. To get the games now, you have to do your homework, get ready for bed, and be in bed before you get the games, and then you can have the games. I'm not yelling, I'm not screaming, I'm giving them a reward, but then there's also a built-in consequence because they took their time. And I was warning them, you're running out of time. You're running out of time. Not yelling, not screaming like I done in the past, but just reminding them, you're running out of time. If you want to play games, you gotta hurry. You gotta hurry if you want to play the games. You guys are taking too long. Why are you playing games? Why are you playing with those blocks when I said go to bed? Why are you playing with your toys? Why are you building your Legos now? This is not the time. And they finally get ready and they finally go to bed. And now it's past 7:30. And they go, can I play the games? No. I warned you, you need to have be in bed beforehand, and then you can play the games. The first night, they didn't get the games. Then last night, knowing that I didn't yell at them, but they still didn't get the games, it was very clear, and more assertive than angry, they hurried up and they went and laid down early, and they gladly, well, maybe not gladly, but they willingly gave up the games when their short time frame was out. They had a time frame of like 10 minutes. I gave them a little bit longer because they were being well behaved, and they gave up the games. And my youngest son came out of his room and handed me the phone and said, "Here you go. I wasn't finished, but I turned it off and I went back to bed." And he went back to bed and he fell asleep, which is amazing. He loves the game he was playing. He absolutely doesn't want to ever stop playing that. We've had a big bunch of fights over this, but because of me learning to be more assertive than angry, not letting his disobedience and him ignoring me get under my skin, which if you're a parent, you know how much easier this is said than done. It's improved our relationship. It's improved the way we communicate. He's only 7 years old, and he was willing to listen, and they're both listening to me a lot better. They're behaving better. We went to school. They were early to school on time for the first time in like months, instead of just barely making it by the skin of their teeth. And it's because of learning to be more assertive. This is really worth developing. Oh, sorry for the abrupt cutoff. I forgot to add a mid-break into this podcast, so I cut it at what I thought was a good spot, and here we are, the mid-break. Okay, everyone. Well, that long break in between turned out to be an extended long break. Let's just break it down real quick. First, discovered it's near impossible to record when the kids are home from school during summer vacation. I have a makeshift office under a stairway, and it's not insulated for noise at all. People run up the stairs, loud. The neighbor lady underneath plays music, loud. Kids walking and playing and screaming in the halls, loud. So that's nearly impossible to do, and at night or in the early morning, unfortunately, I'm too close to the rooms, so if I record then, I risk waking the family up who's asleep. So, not an excuse. The problem is, I need to plan better and get ahead with recordings at least a few weeks in advance. So, that's what slowed me down for the summer. But then we ran into some financial and work issues, including some health issues occurred that really knocked me off balance. I'm doing better. I'm still struggling a bit. But then, of course, the holidays hit, and there's been some other stuff going on that I've been working on, which I will announce probably in a couple of episodes from now. We'll see. But there's been a lot going on my plate that I've been having to attend to. And unfortunately, once you lose momentum on recording, it's really, really hard to get it back going. Matter of fact, that's probably going to be one of my future podcasts is on losing momentum and what you need to do to regain it and all that good stuff. So look forward to that. So that's kind of where we're at. I have been put on, due to the health issues, something called a work assessment allowance, which is not a disability. It's a, let's pause your job search and work issues and work for a little while we try to figure out how to get you better so you can get back to work. So it's kind of like disability pay, but it's also, say you're working at one job and that factory that you've been working on for 20 years goes under and there's no job like that and you need new instruction. You can take this work assessment allowance and get new training for a different job. That's kind of what it's for. It's an intermediary between jobs to cover for you while you train or learn or deal with health issues to get into the next job. That means I will be having some more time It also means that I did have to close down my balloon business, which I've talked about, which was kind of the seed of this whole podcast. So I will be having more time going forward. I will be trying to get back on track here. So thank you for your patience on this. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. I will be not pushing right now the normal Apple and all the other things, the Patreon, all that. Not this time around because I haven't been sitting down, so I have no clue where we're at on that. So I have to fix that up, clean that up, and I'll get back to you on that. So thank you for your patience as we try to get the momentum rolling with this podcast. Thank you. And now, the rest of the podcast. Now, of course, you might be wondering what are some actual concrete steps you can take to become more assertive. Now, these are the tips I pulled out from my clinic, Better Health, Victoria, and Mind Tools. And the first one is know your rights. And by that, they mean understand your needs and options. Understand that your needs and options are just as important as others. Recognizing this is the first step to becoming more assertive. This is a big one. This is really, for me, hard to do. I don't feel like I'm worth it. Self-esteem comes into this very much so. Growing up, I was really grew up thinking that others' needs are more important as my own. Matter of fact, I did a podcast about this called The Wounded Medic, where I talked about that, caring about other people so much that you don't care for yourself. And I liken this to being a medic in the military. Imagine if you're a medic and you get hit, and now you're bleeding out. You can't even stand up. You're wounded. And you're going to die if you don't get help yourself. But instead of stopping to get help yourself and realizing that you need help, you keep trying to help other people. The problem is, because you're wounded, you're less effective at helping other people, and then eventually you just die, and then you're helping no one. Because you put other people's needs over yourself to the point of taking yourself out of the game. And I do that all the time. So understanding that your needs and your opinions are just as important as others is very, very important to do. Second part is, again, something very hard for me, especially like I said in business, is practice saying no. It's essential to set boundaries. Saying no doesn't make you selfish. It protects your time and energy. Exactly with my example I gave with that client or ex-client at this point, where my time and my energy and my money I need to protect, because there's no way I was going to do twice the work for less than half the pay. I had to say no. I didn't want to say no. I wanted to say yes. I honestly, because I need the money right now. I really could use the income right now. But looking at everything else, I don't think it was going to work. And I would rather say no. I can do this counteroffer. And if they didn't take that offer, I wasn't going to try anymore. It was just a straight no. Okay? And that protected me. And then when you're talking to someone, when you're expressing your thoughts and feelings, you need to use I statements instead of use statements to sound, because that sounds accusatory. In other words, you can say, for example, I feel overwhelmed when tasks are last minute, is better than saying, you're always give me my tasks at the last minute. Or, I feel like you're really don't. No, that's a bad example for my kids. But that's a hard thing to do, is especially when you get frustrated and angry with somebody not treating right. You can say, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, instead of saying, I feel this, I feel that. And another key there is something I learned with arguments, is when you argue, it's better to explain what you feel instead of saying, this is what happened. Because oftentimes, especially if you're married, it's really easy to misjudge what another person says. My wife's been stressed about something and trying to get the boys out the door or something along those lines, and she says something, and it gets me upset, and we have a fight about it, because of course we do, because we're human and we're married. But if we say, oh, you did this, then it just escalates the fight. But if we say, she goes, well, I can tell her, I feel like you were angry with me with the boys. Instead of saying, you were angry with me, why were you angry with me with the boys? I didn't mean that. That just escalates things. But instead I said, I felt like you were very angry with me with the boys, which gives her the opportunity to go, oh, I'm sorry, I was frustrated with the boys, not you. I'm sorry you felt that way. And then we can work it out. It's a much better way to do it. I feel, instead of you did, you always. Another thing is, try to avoid the terms always and never, because they back people in the corner, and people never. People in general don't always do something and don't never do something. Sometimes they don't do things, and sometimes they always do things. So yeah, that can be it. But still, if you say that, they're immediately going to become defensive. You never do this, you always do that. That puts a person into a defensive stance, as it were. And they're going to say, well, no, I don't always do that. I didn't do it that time. I didn't do it that time. And then it becomes a list, and then it becomes a fight. Not good. Then you have body language. You need to maintain eye contact. You need to stand tall. Use a calm, steady tone. Nonverbal cues can significantly impact how your message is received. Also, keep your arms open. That's one of the things is, if your arms are crossed in front of you, you're saying, I'm angry. This is a challenge. This is a conflict. This is a confrontation. Try to keep your arms down at the side, at your sides, or your hands open in a way that suggests openness and communication, not defensiveness or challenge. And the last thing you need to do is learn to stay calm. Easier, again, said than done. When you get upset, you have to force your brain to tell you this is what you're feeling now, and address that and work on saying, okay, I'm very upset right now. If you need to, take a step back. Even if there's a situation where you're really upset, if you can just get even a few moments to calm down. If you feel like you're about to open your mouth and say something stupid, because let's face it, when you're angry and you're frustrated, stupid goes hand in hand with that, and it comes just flowing out of your mouth. And if you've ever been in a relationship, if you've ever had a sibling, or if you've ever had a parent, which I think that covers pretty much everyone at this point, then you know when you're angry, stupid comes out of your mouth. You say things you don't really mean because you're very angry, and it can hurt. So if you're feeling very stressed, very angry, perhaps you need to take a step back, take a few breaths, stop and count to 10, whatever it takes, before doing that. So those are just some tips that I found that I've been working on myself. These are tips that I need to work on, and I'm learning, and I'm getting there. It's building up. It's eventually getting there. So I'm getting better. Not perfect by a long shot, which is why even writing this freaked me out. I was not assertive enough to write about assertiveness, so that I had to ask for assertiveness help from the computer to become more assertive. Yeah, anyway. So in conclusion, assertiveness is very much a crucial secondary power that really can enhance your personal and professional success. It's about standing up for yourself while respecting others. It fosters mutual respect, and it really builds strong relationships. Mastering assertiveness, something I have far from doing, it empowers you to navigate the entrepreneurial landscape. It helps you negotiate deals, manage teams. It helps you build credibility and trust. And it's really essential in business and everyday life. And in everyday life, it helps you set boundaries, help other people's needs, and resolve conflicts while contributing to your own personal well-being and relationships. Now, to finish this off, if you can come over and to our Discord server, which I've now made free for all, you can go to our Patreon, you can go to Athos Business Facebook page, and you can come and join the discussion. And you can answer these with these questions of the week. The questions are: how do you handle situations where you need to be assertive? Do you recall a time when you were assertive and it led to a positive outcome? And how do you balance assertiveness with humility and a giving spirit? And do you have any examples on how assertiveness helped you in everyday life? If you can answer those questions, I want this to be a two-way conversation. I don't want to be just yapping into the microphone every week. I would love to hear your thoughts and views. Please come over, join us. Links will be in the podcast description. Come hang out. Let's build each other up. Let's grow. Oh, and one last note I forgot to mention before. The reason I said that this was the final required secondary power for now in the title is because I don't know. Maybe there's something else that I'm missing that could be added under this. But for now, this is the final. We'll see what happens as we go. Maybe we'll revisit, maybe not. Anyway, I've been your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. If today's episode added value to your day, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment and consider giving us a stellar 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform. Whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, or more. And remember, if you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, I will personally read it out in the next episode. To support the show, you can make a one-time gift by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/bootstrap. Donate through PayPal at paypal.me/IOCPOD, or make a contribution on our Patreon page at patreon.com/IOCPOD. Your support keeps the episodes coming. For even more content and exclusive perks, join our Patreon community at patreon.com/IOCPod. Patrons enjoy ad-free episodes, access to our private Discord server, early content previews, and a lot more. And here's an exciting offer. Get your free trial of our $5 a month Bootstrapper Community Explorer tier. This exclusive tier grants you ad-free content, Discord server access, and early content previews. Join us and be part of the inner circle. If you're feeling more generous, those who join tiers $25 a month and up will have a chance to be a featured guest on this podcast. A massive thank you to Wintergotten for generously providing the incredible intro and outro music at no cost. We appreciate their support. Be sure to check out Wintergotten's amazing work on YouTube at youtube.com/@Wintergotten. Until next time, I'm your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor, signing off. This is the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, brought to you by Athos Business Solutions. For our companion podcast, the Athos Business Podcast, hosted by Jason St. Clair, along with past episodes and related blogs, visit our website at athos.com. That's ATHEOZ.com or theoz.com. Goodbye for now.